about the chat box. I'll help you out there.
Perfect. Awesome.
So we're going to be making cookies today. So far, we've got 55 kids in here. Woo! Amazing. Probably more because there's a lot of siblings. We all have an adult nearby because we want to be safe in the kitchen. We don't want to chop things or turn on the ovens without an adult. If you're just watching and you're not cooking, you're just watching us, then you don't need a parent to be there. You're just watching a show. Does that make sense to everyone? If that makes sense, give me a thumbs up. Okay, Matt, can you list what they need to have? And then we'll give them like a minute. And if they need to go collect things, they can collect them. I'm going to type in what Matt's saying while he says it.
Cool. So first thing, we definitely need some butter. So this recipe does call for softened butter. So if you don't have softened butter, where it has been sitting out for a while, you could also just maybe put it in a microwave for a few seconds just to get it a little texture. So when we put some sugar in it, it melts together really well. So first thing, just some nice soft butter. We need some vanilla extract. We gotta have some baking soda, super important here. 2 eggs, some salt, flour, brown sugar, and regular sugar. And you can't have chocolate chip cookies without nice chocolate chips. My favorite. You can go for semi-sweet if you have semi-sweet. Those work totally fine. Or if you're more of like a dark chocolate person, you can use those too. But I'm using milk chocolate because I'm a super big milk chocolate fan myself. So I'm pretty sure that's everything as far as what we'll need to make the cookies as far as ingredients. Just let me know.
For materials, they need measuring spoons and things. What sort of stuff do they need? Like not food, like materials.
Thank you. Yes. So what I like to do is, because you're going to need 2 different bowls, one for dry ingredients, which I haven't gotten to yet, and one for your wet ingredients. So I like to, usually when you're baking, you need 2 good large bowls here. Got to have some measuring spoons because in baking, you need to be a little bit more exact. Cooking, you can be a little bit more free, add a little bit of more of something that you might like. But with baking, you kind of need to be a little bit more specific. You need some measuring cups as well. I have my measuring cups here. We'll mainly need the 1/4 size cup or the 3/4 cup, and the regular cup size here. A spatula for when the cookies are all done. And this, with cookies, you kind of need to have an electric hand mixer or one of the big mechanical mixers if you have those at home. But with cookies, you kind of need to be able to blend together the sugar and the butter really well. Make sure that sugar completely dissolves into that butter. It's called creaming. So you'll need this. There's one way to get around not using this, but you would have to brown your butter, which is a little bit technical, where you have to put your butter in a saucepan. Then you have to get it a certain nice light brown color to make it kind of nutty, and then put those in the cookies where you wouldn't have to cream it so well. But for these cookies, you're going to need a hand mixer.
One friend says we don't have vanilla. I think that's fine to skip if you don't have it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get a very like rich, like sweet vanilla-y flavor. But if you don't have vanilla, yeah, you can totally make it without it.
Cool. Some other kids are saying we're using unicorn chocolate chip.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is totally fine. That would actually make it look cool.
Can we use gluten-free flour? Sure, right? If you're gluten-free,
absolutely.
Why not?
You could even use, there's a bunch of different types of flours. I was actually at the market yesterday just to make sure I had all the ingredients, and I couldn't find flour anywhere. But luckily I found one place that had it. But yeah, if you needed to use a different type of flour as well, that's totally
Some kids are saying, what if we don't have sugar? You could probably use, like if you have a sugar substitute, like maybe stevia or Splenda, or maybe even honey you could use.
You could, I mean, I wouldn't know the exact amounts of what you would have to use to substitute that. Also, like honey has a lot of moisture in it because it is kind of like a liquid form. So you would probably need something a little bit more dry to be able to cream into the butter. And also for the stevia, like a sugar substitute or anything like that, they might end up being a little bit more sweeter than sugar. So if you do have to make that kind of adjustments, there's tons of recipes online to kind of to alter that and to be able to find ways to substitute that.
Sure, and I can Google it like as we're going, because that's a really good question about the sugar.
Absolutely.
And then same with someone said if we don't have eggs, I know you can substitute something, but I'll look it up and then I'll let you know.
Yes.
Someone asked, do we need to preheat the oven? Okay,
yes.
This is a big important question, and
yes.
your parents have to be there to turn the oven on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Have to have an adult with you to be able to touch the oven at all.
And what degree should it be preheating at?
375.
375 oven.
375 degrees. I think I saw a comment on the
parent. Perfect. Can we use foil instead of parchment paper? Sure.
Okay, yeah. So that's the thing is I didn't have any parchment paper, so that's what I have lined up on my baking sheet. So aluminum foil totally work as well.
Awesome. Someone said, can I add a little bit of oat to it? Sure, that'd be yummy.
Yeah. Little oat chocolate
chip. You can get creative.
Some of these, totally.
Yeah. We don't have baking soda. That might be a problem.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. That's something, unfortunately, for cookies. It helps it rise and gets nice and fluffy. You can even see there's cookies on this bad boy here. So you kind of need some good baking soda here.
Yeah. So I would suggest that if you don't have the correct things and you feel like your cookies won't come out correctly, you could just watch and then you can make them later. We also save all of these Zoom lessons and we put them on YouTube. So you could watch later with your parents and bake the cookies when you have the right stuff. Milo, yes, you are right. You can use applesauce instead of eggs. That's the substitute.
Oh, wow. I've never heard of that. That's so cool. That's,
yeah.
I think
and it
awesome.
Comes out kind of sweet.
I like that.
Haley, if we only have one stick of butter, is that enough? Would you say maybe they should cut their recipe in half?
Exactly. So if you only have one stick of butter, you would have to do a little math and cut whatever I'm doing in half. So one stick of butter, that's totally fine. Just make sure it's anything that I'm adding today is everything's cut in half for that.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I'm gonna look up the substitutions for eggs and sugar, and I'll type them in the chat box. And let's just get going. Let's start.
Sounds good. Let's do it. All right. So, like I said, I got my butter kind of hanging out over here, just getting nice and soft. So to this, I'm going to start adding some sugars here. So let me make sure I have the exact amount of sugar that I'm going to be adding. All right. So we got 3/4 a cup of normal sugar. So I'm going to take my normal sugar here. So I only have a 1/4 cup, so I would have to be adding 3 of these guys because I need 3/4 cup of each kind of sugar, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and, again, with baking, you need to be a little bit more specific with this. So I'm gonna pour my sugar over my empty bowl just so I can get a nice even amount. Okay. So yeah, nice and flat all the way filling up the 1/4, and I'm gonna need 3 of these here. So 1, 2, and 3. And I'm a big fan of clean up as you go. So whatever ingredient I'm using and I'm done with it, I'm not gonna need anymore, I'm gonna put those away.
Matt, can you show us, before you move on, exactly, you just repeat what you just did?
No problem. So for right now, what I did is I had my softened butter, and to that I just added 3/4 of a cup of regular granulated sugar. So that's just kind of hanging out in there.
Awesome.
Okay. Now I'm going to do the same amount of brown sugar. And the brown sugar is a little tricky. Again, this is going into the butter mixture that we have here. The brown sugar, the way you have to add it is, it's called tightly packed. So everybody, I feel like, has a different tightly packed. So to pack it in general, what you're gonna have to do is just go ahead and get in there with your measuring cup. Again, I need 3. And as I get in there, I'm just gonna go ahead and use the bag to kind of pack it down nice and tight. Not too tight, but then that's 1/4 cup. So I need 3 of these in total. Throwing that into the butter here. 1. Show you again how I do that. I kind of scoop it inside the bag and then pack it nice and tight there. Sure it's nice and flat. You don't want to have it rounded off, nice and flat. 2. And 3. Boom. All right. Again, I'm gonna put this away. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually, before I start beating my butter and sugar together, because that will be the next step to do with this mixture, I'm gonna put together my dry ingredients here on this empty bowl.
Matt,
Okay,
we have a quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say that I don't have brown sugar or I don't have white sugar. Should I just use whichever one I do have?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why they have brown sugar in the recipe is because it has something in it called molasses. And that molasses creates kind of like that texture in a brown in a chocolate chip cookie. So that's kind of why you need both. You could try it. If you're going to try it that way, I would say try to use all regular sugar. Don't use all brown sugar, because I feel like they'll end up a little bit too sweet. So if you're going to go that route, you can try it. Sorry, my hound is barking in here. If you're going to try it, just do regular sugar, I would say.
Cool. That totally makes sense. I think it would
awesome.
I think it would taste delicious with regular sugar. Sugar is yummy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that, for sure. All right, let me see what's in our dry ingredients here. So we have 2 1/4 cups of flour. All right. My flour bin here. So again, with baking, you want to make sure that you're nice and level. And I'll show you guys how I do that with my measuring cup here. I'm going to need a butter knife. So when I get a nice rounded top to my flour, what I do is I use the back edge of the butter knife to kind of flatten it all out. And I'll show you guys a little above view why you want to do that, because like I said in the beginning, with baking, you need to have it a little bit more exact. So what I did with that is I just flattened it out right there. So again, we need 2 1/4. So into my empty bowl here, not into the sugar and the butter yet, putting in the empty bowl. We need 1 more full cup and 1/4 cup. Okay. Kind of hard to get into this. I'm going to use a spoon to. There we go. Fill in the rest of that.
So Matt, while you're doing that, I'm just going to review what we've already done in case kids joined late. So
that sounds good.
In one bowl, you put 2 sticks of soft butter. And if your butter was soft, we recommended putting it in the microwave for like 10 seconds. And you added 3/4 a cup of white sugar and 3/4 a cup of brown sugar. So that was in one bowl. Then in your second bowl, you're right now you're putting 2 and 1/4 cup. That's it. So that's all we've done, right?
That's all we've done so far. So we got our flour already in our bowl. Our next dry ingredient is going to be our baking soda. So this is another cool little technique that you can use to be able to flatten out your ingredients that you're using. And this calls for 1 teaspoon. So don't get mixed up. There's a TBSP, which is the bigger one. You need the TSP, 1 teaspoon. Super important here. Sometimes people get a little mixed up with that. So make sure that you're using a teaspoon, not a tablespoon. All right. It's a little big here, so pull this off. So this is how I get my baking soda, my teaspoon here. Just putting it in, getting a nice scoop, and then using the box itself to kind of scrape it away outside. It gives you a nice flat teaspoon of baking soda. Putting that into my flour, not into the butter, into the flour. Okay, it's all done with that. And we're gonna need 1 teaspoon of just regular old salt. I would say you can use kosher salt, but it'll end up being a little bit more grainy for baking. What they usually want you to use is something a little bit more finer. So like more of like a regular old fine salt. Then adding that salt, again, making sure it's nice and level. Use your finger, but just go ahead and use my knife since I got it here. 1 teaspoon of salt into the flour mixture also. Okay, it's all done.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
Is that a teaspoon or a teaspoon of salt?
That was a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of baking soda.
Okay. One of the kids is asking if you could slowly go over everything that they need so far so they can check, because they're trying to listen and measure at the same time. I think that's a really good request. Let's review. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sweet. So I'll even start from the butter mixture that we've had before, just to double check and make sure that we have everything. Totally.
Just start at the beginning.
I'll even here, how do I flip the camera around here? There we go.
There you go.
Okay. So what I have in my first bowl that I was working on, I have the 2 sticks of softened butter, 3/4 a cup of brown sugar, and 3/4 a cup of white sugar, regular white sugar, granulated there. Haven't done anything to that yet. Right now, I'm just letting that kind of sit in the bowl. Pretty soon, we're gonna go ahead and start creaming this together with our hand mixer. And then on this bowl that I've worked on so far, and we're gonna mix this up too, because you don't wanna have that all not together when we're putting all this ingredients together. Right here, I have 2 1/4 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, 2 1/4 cups of that. I have 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of salt, regular old salt. Okay.
Perfect. I just wrote it in the chat. I wrote all those things. So if they're confused, they can always go there and take a look.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see, what we'll get to next here is we're going to add in some vanilla extract into the butter and sugar mixture here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this flour mixture over to the side. I haven't mixed that up yet, but we will absolutely do that very soon. Okay, let me see if there's a way I can like this. There we go.
That's good. There you are.
That works better there. So we can kind of see the bowl there.
So now we're
All right.
back to bowl number 1 with our butter,
Yes.
our butter bowl, and we're adding vanilla extract. How much vanilla extract?
Vanilla extract, we are adding 1 teaspoon. So that actually works out well because it's 1 teaspoon all around for some of these here. So again, we're gonna have to use our measuring spoon here. Again, using that teaspoon. You go ahead and what I do is I just make sure it's nice and wiped out and clean so we're not mixing up things that we don't need mixed yet. All right, again, this is my butter and sugar mixture. 1 teaspoon.
Vanilla extract smells so good.
Okay, so speaking of that, I was just gonna say this. I have a really close teacher friend at the school I work at, and she always gets me really like nice little fancy things to cook with. And she got me this Mexican vanilla extract that is so delicious. It's from this company here, but it's so awesome. And I always love to kind of experiment with different vanilla extracts. They're cool to just even smell. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to now mix together the butter and the sugar and the vanilla extract with my hand mixer here. All right, and what the ingredients say is to mix it until it's creamy. So when you see that the sugar is mostly kind of mixed all together and nice and combined, then you're probably good. So it's probably going to take you about maybe 1 or 2 minutes. You can do this with a hand mixer, but you're going to have to with like a whisk. But it's going to take a little bit more those muscles. You got to use those muscles. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, and it's going to get a little loud. So I'll let you know when this is all done here. Let me see if I can do this with one hand and do the above view here.
That's okay. I can chat while you do that.
Awesome.
I can review the steps. Go
Sweet.
ahead
All right.
and blend it up.
All right, let's do it.
Samantha wants to know what speed. I would start on low so you don't have a big volcano explosion, and then add it and then go up.
Exactly.
Piper Williams, hi buddy, wants to know, what about the eggs?
The eggs, those will go in one at a time once this is all nice and creamed up. So that's going to be actually the next thing coming up. And I'll show you guys how to do that because sometimes you might want to just throw the eggs right into this mixture. But what I do is I put it into a bowl on the side first, so that way I don't get any shells in my cookies, because an eggshell in your chocolate chip cookie is not going to be a very tasty thing to have. So I'm going to do that right after this little creaming of the butter and sugar here. And even this here smells so good because it's like that sweet vanilla and the sugar and the butter. That's an amazing smell that's coming off of these, just this simple mixture that we have here. All right, make sure it's nice and mixed. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab, this is grab a spoon here and then scrape off the side so that way we can get all the ingredients mixed in without leaving anything out. So again, just scraping the sides of the bowl with the spoon. Okay. Going back. So you see how I did that? I started on low and then you crank it up a little bit higher. The faster you go, the less time it'll take for you to cream this together. Okay. All right, let me show you how this looks here, guys.
Yeah,
and here's another trick.
The kids want to know what it's supposed to look like, but I told them to just hang on until you're done, and then they'll see exactly what it's supposed to look like.
Absolutely, absolutely. What I do to get the extra batter off my hand mixer is I kind of start it at low, just above my ingredients, and crank it up a little bit higher, and then turn it off. You'll see that kind of gets off most of the juice that you're going to need. You're going to need all that stuff there, okay? So let's see how this looks so far.
Ooh.
Nice and creamed together. Okay. That's good enough and creamed together for me. That's all I'll say that we'll need for that. That's good there. Okay. So now our eggs. Super, super important to this. Again, like I said, I'm going to break these into another bowl on the side so I can make sure that I'm not getting any extra shell in there. One egg, two eggs. What I like to do after touching raw egg is always give my hands a little bit of a wash because it can create something called salmonella on your hands. And especially right now where everyone's trying to be nice and healthy and safe here, try to just wash your hands if you're touching raw egg there.
Matt, we have a couple questions. So maybe now is a good time because they're all kind of finishing up their eggs and they're going to wash their hands.
Awesome.
Lila or Leah wants to know, how many cookies will this make? A dozen?
Let's see.
2 dozen?
This should make about, this recipe says makes about, let's see. This is right. It says it makes about 5 dozen cookies. So depending on also how big you make them. I kind of like to, the way that we're going to make them, I make them a little bit bigger because I have a little secret that I'm going to show you guys. But I would say it makes about maybe 2-3 dozen. It's a good amount of cookies for sure.
Got it.
Awesome.
Okay, we have Laya and Maya have a question. They're raising their hands. Hi, friends. Do you want to ask Matt a question?
It's not a question, but
Okay.
On accident, she put the flour into the same bowl as everything else, and now everything's in one bowl.
Oh, everything's in one bowl. I think, you know what? The kind of trick is to get the eggs mixed in one at a time with the butter and sugar. So if everything's all together at once, maybe just toss it all in there and see how it goes. I'm not sure what you could do after that.
Yeah, I would just say make sure to mix it really, really well.
Yeah.
Everything's going to get mixed together eventually. You're just doing it in a different order. So try it out and let us know.
Exactly.
My friend Lucas has his hand raised too. Lucas, do you have a question or a comment? Go, Lucas. Oh, you're not connected. Oh, there you are. Do you have a question, buddy?
No.
No. Okay. Bye.
I saw a question that I add the eggs. I have not added eggs yet.
Okay. We got one more hand raised. Hold on. Avery Culkin. Unmute. Do you have a question, Avery?
Oh yeah, Avery. Hi.
Can we add M&Ms as well instead of chocolate chips, or can we add both?
Yum.
You can definitely do both. Yeah, and maybe if you want, whatever measurements that come out, because I believe it's 2 cups of the milk chocolate chips. Just split that in half. Do 1 cup of this, and then 1 cup of the M&Ms, or just go full 2 cups of M&Ms. That'll work too.
Yeah, I think that would be really good, but that doesn't come till the very end.
Yes,
exactly. Pull that in at the end. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, so I think we're at the egg step. Are we at the egg step?
We are at the egg step. Let's go ahead and get started on that step here. I'm just getting my special little spoonula thing here out. That's the perfect thing to have for bacon there. All right. So going in with my eggs. The trick with this is doing it one at a time. So again, I'm adding these eggs to my butter, sugar, and vanilla extract mixture. One at a time. Again, I have no shells or little pieces inside of my eggs there.
So that's super smart. That's a good trick.
Yeah.
Matt cracked his eggs in a little bowl on the side so you didn't get shells.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the trick. That way you can make sure that no shells get in your cookies, because somebody might bite into a cookie and have a little shell in there, and that's kind of an unpleasant little thing there. So you want to make sure that there's no shells inside of these cookies.
Matt, your camera flipped. Oh, there
we good there?
Perfect.
Sweet.
Yep, we're good.
Awesome. All right. So again, one at a time for my eggs into the butter and sugar mixture. Boom, one. And then once you throw one in there, go ahead and just make sure that that egg gets completely mixed in. All right. I'm going to show you what I mean by that with the next egg here. So, let's see. This is one egg that is completely mixed in, so I'm going to add in my next egg. Then the sink there. So don't add the next egg until you see that it's completely mixed in. Okay. And again, like I said, I'm going to do that same little technique where I use my spoon and kind of scrape the edges off of this mixture here, just so I can make sure everything gets nice and mixed in. It's the reason why I really like this little tool is because it's really easy to swoop everything back inside the center. All right, going ahead and just making sure, again, just nice and mixed in with the eggs. Oh, that looks really good already. All right. Okay. So now we're gonna go back. Is there a question?
Oh, so stopped. Now look and see how everyone's doing. So if you have already finished your egg step, give me a thumbs up. If you need another minute, maybe give me like a, hang on, actually, we need a minute. Yeah, a bunch of them need a minute. No problem.
Need a minute? No problem.
If there's any questions, I think they're just kind of mixing and blending and getting themselves to where you are.
Perfect, no rush.
While we're doing that, maybe like some, your favorite dessert besides cookies?
Okay, so mine personally, I was looking this up and I didn't have the pan to make it. And I think I'm gonna go and try and find it somewhere. It's my favorite dessert is a cheesecake. And I looked up this recipe. Yum. Yeah, it was so good. It's called a Basque cheesecake, I believe. And the cool thing about it is that you add in all the ingredients into the bowl and you mix it all together. Ton of cream cheese, a ton of heavy cream. And then you pour it into your cheese. You need a cheesecake pan, which is what I was saying earlier. So you pour it into the cheesecake pan with just some parchment paper in it, and you don't put any crust, and you bake it, and you like intentionally burn the cheesecake. So the top becomes like this nice brown, like caramelized toppings. Yeah, so you don't necessarily need like a crust at the bottom. It's so good to just have it like that. So I think I might find a pan so I can go ahead and try and make that, because that sounds so good.
My favorite dessert, I like desserts that are hot and cold together. So when you take like a hot piece of pie and put like cold ice cream on it.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
One of the kids is asking, our batter looks thinner than yours.
This one?
I guess.
You might have had, you know what? Also, if you melted the butter in the microwave, that might be what it is. So if you didn't start off with softened butter, that might be why it looks a little bit more moist. But don't worry, that's okay. If this is super moist, we're going to be adding in our dry ingredients in just a little bit. So then it will go ahead and thicken up there for you.
They said that's why.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, awesome, awesome. No worries about that. Totally fine.
Do we feel ready to move on to the next day? refresh to move on to the next step. It's okay. Like it's okay to keep going. All right, we're gonna keep going.
Sweet.
Now, what do we do
Let's
from
do
here?
it. Now from here, what we'll do is I'm coming back to my dry ingredient bowl here. Okay, just gonna put that in front of me. So we added all those ingredients, but we gotta make sure that we mix them together. Nothing like too special here. Just make sure that you get all that salt, baking soda, and flour all together so it's not all one space inside of your bowl.
So you're just taking the bowl number 2 with the flour and
Yes.
the sugar. I mean, not the sugar, the flour and the baking soda, that
Yes.
mixture, and you're just kind of mixing it up. And you could do that with like a spoon, a fork, a spatula, anything, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You could use anything for this. I would say don't use something that we've already used in like the wet ingredients. So like say if I was using my little spoonula guy here, I wouldn't want to throw this into the dry ingredients because you're going to chunk that up. And it's going to get it kind of messy. So use a nice, like a fresh spoon or a fresh fork or anything that you have that's not been used in the ingredients that we've already been using here. Okay, so nothing too crazy, just nice and mixed up.
Your friend Avery has another question. Hold on.
Sweet.
Go ahead, Avery.
Do we have to add in baking powder or is it just baking soda?
Just baking soda. With cookies, you just need baking soda. Baking powder can be used for a lot of other baking recipes, but for this one, just baking soda.
Perfect. And then we have Leah and Maya again. I think these were the friends that put everything in one bowl, and now we have another question. So
no worries.
Go ahead, ladies.
Does this look okay? Will our cookies still turn out right? It's very soft and because mushy. We found we tried mixing it with our hands and it worked out as like this, but now it's all clumped and it feels like dough instead of batter.
Hey, that's totally fine as long as you have like kind of like a doughy consistency. But just make sure that when you are mixing it with your hands that you don't go too far because you can probably overmix too. So once you got a nice little doughy texture, go ahead and you're ready to start making little balls. And well, so you guys are kind of a step ahead of the game. You're ahead of me here, so I'll catch up with you guys and show you how to actually form the cookie itself.
Hey Matt, I have a question from the parents.
Yeah.
They just want to know what is the timing for baking them. I know we're not there yet, but just so the parents know.
So what the actual recipe says is 9 to 11 minutes. So what I do is I always try to hit that middle mark. So I always do about 10 minutes. And we're going to kind of see how the first batch goes. So what I always do is, especially when you're making pancakes, when you're making anything, the first batch doesn't always turn out the best, but that's kind of like your test batch. So you can kind of say like, oh, okay, my cookies are done at 9 minutes and a half. Or my cookies actually, since my oven doesn't get as hot as other people's, need the full 11 minutes. So it kind of depends on your oven itself. You kind of, especially if you have like, I don't have an oven with a glass in the middle of the actual oven. If you have glass on your oven, super cool to just flip that light on and you can kind of see how the cookies are doing from inside the oven without opening it up and letting all that heat out.
Totally. But again, we're not there yet.
No,
right?
we're not there.
All we've really done is we've mixed our wet like butter mixture and then we've mixed our flour mixture and now we're kind of waiting. Exactly.
So right now I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to put the wet ingredients in front of me again. So the butter and the eggs and all this stuff right here, I'm going to put that in front of, okay. Then let's see. And then what we're going to do is we're going to gradually beat in the flour into the butter and egg mixture, okay? So I'll show you what I mean by that, by gradually. And make sure that we don't put this ingredient bowl into the dry ingredients. We're putting the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients, okay? All right, going back in. So again, this one you might need a little help with, okay? So if you are kind of teaming up with some people here, what I would do is have one person add in the dry ingredients like this a little bit at a time, and one person doing the mixing, okay? So for me, I'm just gonna go ahead and do a little bit of both at the same time here. So adding in a little bit of my flour mixture, going ahead and beating that together. With this one, start on a low speed, especially because now we're working with the dry ingredients and it could puff up real fast. So just do a little bit at a time, and then just go ahead and start on low. Add in a little bit more here. I like to spin the bowl as I'm mixing it just because it helps kind of get all the ingredients really mixed in. All right. The dough's getting a little tough here, so I'm gonna crank it up just a slight amount. Adding in more flour. I kind of did it in 4 turns, so if you kind of split the ingredients into 4s, do like four mix-ins.
Now,
Yeah.
Has a question. She said that hers is a little bit chunky. I'm gonna unmute her and maybe she can hold it up for you. I'm not sure why it's chunky, but let's find out.
Let's see.
Hey, Coop.
Mine's like a little bit wet and chunky at the same time.
Do you want to show that?
And just like.
Did you add all the ingredients we listed, or did you guys skip some?
We have all the ingredients that we had. I don't know. It was chunky before we added the flour and the salt and stuff in the baking soda, and it's still chunky after we added it. So I'm not sure what's wrong with it.
I don't know. Did you melt the butter in the microwave? Did you do that? Maybe that's why it's like a little bit wet. Did you mix it with a like a machine mixer or with your hands?
Hands and a whisk.
And also
That's probably why. So Matt's using the machine kind, and it like is able to go a lot faster, really break up all the particles. So I say just kind of keep mixing. Matt, what do you think?
Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. That sounds good to me. Like, just keep giving it a good whisk to make sure it's all incorporated together. So that's when you're using that's what I was saying earlier, when you're using a hand mixer, really got to use those big muscles, get all that sugar completely incorporated into that butter. Okay?
Yeah. I got one more question here. It says Devin and Evie. Do you guys have a question? Go ahead. I can't hear you. Say it one more time. I don't think you're connected to your audio. We can't hear you, even though you're unmuted. I see you talking, but we can't hear you. Why don't you type in your question, because
there you go.
Okay, back to now.
Awesome. So now I have all my dry ingredients mixed into my wet ingredients. Like I did before, I kind of swooped around the edges of the bowl to kind of make sure that everything's in the center here. Just gonna go ahead and mix all that back in. And it looks like these are pretty much ready to go as far as the base of the dough here. So I'm gonna eject my little tools into the sink here. This guy away. All right. So this is what my dough looks like now. So far, don't have any chocolates in there yet, any little chips. Okay. So we're not going to need our hand mixer anymore if you're using that, or the whisk. We're going to kind of need more of like a tool like this, like I've been using. It's going to help you out a little more. Or a spoon. A spoon will work totally fine also. Okay. Make sure you got a nice little clean area. Okay. Last step. What this recipe also calls for is like walnuts. So I actually have a nut allergy, so I'm not going to be adding any nuts into this one just because I love cookies. I want to be able to chomp them. So for me, I'm just going to be adding just the chocolate chips themselves. It says 2 cups, but easier thing, if you have a 12-ounce package, 11.5 is not going to make too much of a difference. It's about 2 cups right here. So you just add in this whole package. That's what I'm going to do here. Okay. Just going to add them all. And I kind of like a little bit more of a doughy. So this is where I'm going to let you guys kind of leave it up to you guys. You could add a little bit less chips to make it more of like a doughier cookie as far as like less chocolate in it. So I'm going to add just pretty much most of the bag, but still leaving a couple of chips in there.
Yum.
Not putting the cookies in the oven yet. Yeah. So then I'm going to now take my spoon and just fold in those chocolates, because if we use our hand mixer for this step, you're going to break up all that chocolate. It's going to change the mixture and change the texture of your cookies here. Okay? So
you just like mix it. Like you could use a spoon or whatever.
Yeah. See if I can do it like this. There we go.
That looks so good. I
good,
literally
right?
want to reach into my computer screen and bite.
That's awesome. That's what I'm talking about. See, look at that. That's classic Nestle Toll House cookie dough recipe right there. Love it. So you can also,
if you've got your mixture together and you want to hold it up and show us, that would be super cool.
We're gonna look at some of these.
These look delicious.
Look at that.
These look really good. Some kids have already started like kind of rolling them into little balls.
Awesome.
Because I guess we got ourselves a bunch of bakers here. They know what's coming next.
So this is what I'm going to trick you guys with. This is the way I do these, because you could totally go ahead and make these into nice little balls based off of how big you want your cookie. And remember this, the bigger that you make your cookie, the longer it's going to take to bake. Okay, so if you kind of make it more of like maybe a golf ball size, or maybe it's a little bit smaller than that, then you can go by that 9 to 11 minutes. But again, just keep an eye on how well they're cooking, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and bring my baking sheet over here. Here's my little trick here.
Matt, we have a question. Do you, if you put foil on your baking sheet, do you need to put like butter or spray down, or just the foil is good?
That would be good. Like if you want, then you're really going to have a cookie come off the tray really easily. That's totally a good idea. I might even just do that myself a little bit. I don't have any melted butter on hand right now, but what I will do is I'll just go ahead and kind of swipe along the baking sheet just to kind of get some butter.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there's so much butter inside of these cookies also. So that's going to be released when we're cooking. So that's going to also make it a little easier for it to come up.
Step, but it might help.
Yes, absolutely.
I've always found that I've always found that if you've used that's pretty easy to get off. Yeah.
Absolutely. Whoops.
Oh.
There we go. Okay, so here's my trick. So what I'm going to do, I take 2 spoons just because it's a little easier to work with 2 spoons for this. That way I don't get my hands super, super messy. So I take a nice good scoop, kind of form a ball with the 2 here.
Ooh, that's a cool technique.
Yeah, so that's what I do here. So I get a nice kind of like a round shape. if you have one of those cookie like dispensers where you kind of swoop it in, it's like an ice cream little handle. Those work even better because you can get an even proportion every single time. So if you have one of those, unfortunately I don't, use that ice cream scoop because that helps so much. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take this ball and I'm going to place it down onto my cookie sheet. This kind of works better if you refrigerate your cookies for like this batter for a little bit more because we're going to be kind of messing with it a little bit. So it makes it a little bit easier if you were to do it like that, but for the sake of just showing everybody what we're doing here. Okay. So now I have my cookie here in a ball. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thumb. I'm going to kind of press a little hole into the center of my cookie like that. So it gives like a nice, some kind of like a bowl-shaped cookie there. Can you guys see that a little bit?
Why are you doing that rather than just a ball? What are you gonna fill it up with?
Then I'm gonna put some awesome, some blueberry preserves in there. Or you could use whatever kind of jam that you want.
Whoa,
so I'll show you.
I never ever would have thought to put jelly in a chocolate chip cookie, but that might be delicious. Or maybe you could even sprinkle a little sugar in there.
Yes. So this is the thing. Like when I had a bunch of cookie dough, so I was like, hey, might as well kind of experiment with this for a little bit. So what I did is I put this, not too much because you don't want to add too much into the center because otherwise it's going to spread out and not going to, the jelly will start to burn. So you want to make sure that it's nice and tucked away inside of that cookie. And when they come out and when it's all done, then I let it cool for a little bit and then I dust it with some powdered sugar. So they're like gourmet chocolate chip cookies.
Wow. Can you roll up one and show us if there was no jelly, like just a regular one?
Perfect. So absolutely.
What size would be a good size?
Let's do it. Okay. Just right in front. So I also, one thing that helps a little bit is I have, it's kind of like a bigger spoon. So you'd say it's kind of like more like a tablespoon. This is a teaspoon. One bigger spoon, one smaller spoon. I scoop it up with my smaller spoon or whichever one really. And kind of. I would say that's about a good size ball there. Whoop. There it is. I got him.
One of the kids has a really good question. How far apart do you put them on the baking sheet? That's a great question.
So I like to give mine a little bit more space, especially with these cookies because they spread out a little bit more. I would say the more room that you give your cookies, the better they're going to come out. Okay, so look at my pan here.
Oh, it's a picture of you.
There we go. There we go. Am I back here? There we are. Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one here. I'm going to scooch this over, give them a little bit more space, and one here. So I'm probably going to put 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to put about 8 on the pan at a time. So 4 on this side, 4 on this side, plenty of space to spread out and kind of do their thing. I used vanilla extract when I was adding it into the butter and the sugar.
Awesome.
So what I'm going to do, these are going to be so good. I'm going to just go ahead and make like 3 or 4 of them just to see how they come out of the oven. And it kind of helps me with the timing of everything. So I like to work in stages here. So I'm just going to work in making my little balls first, placing them down. I'm just going to do about 4 for right now, just so I can see how they go. A little bit more to that. I'm going to do 2 with the jelly and then 2 without. All right, putting a little divot into that one. And again, this definitely works a little bit easier with some refrigerated dough. You can refrigerate it for about like a week, I would say, and then about like 8 weeks if you freeze it. If you do want to put powdered sugar on them, wait till they're nice and cooled off outside of the oven first. That'll give you a nice uniform, kind of like a pretty like little snowy cookie there. Okay, my oven's all preheated and ready to go, so I'm gonna throw these in for 10 minutes. We're gonna see how they look.
I just typed the whole recipe into the chat box. So if anybody had any questions, that has all the measurements, everything. And then we said it earlier, but we're going to say it again. There has to be a parent or an adult. It could be whoever's in your house that's a grown up to turn on your oven to 375 degrees. And you're going to bake your cookies for 9 to 11 minutes. Then you're going to take them out of the oven and let them cool off for a couple more minutes and then enjoy them. Because otherwise they're going to be so hot.
That's important.
I want to take this one says Gemma and Anya. Unmute.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Hi. Did you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Just want to say hi. I like your background of your dog. Okay, this one says Brian Alexander's iPad. Go ahead. Did you have a question? Hi.
Oh, wait.
No, that was you when you wanted her.
That's you, actually.
Okay. You can just say hi, wave hi. Hi.
Talking to you.
Hi, bye. Okay, I think we're good.
Sweet.
Oh, wait, we have some more questions. Can we put in a little grape? I think maybe if you wanted to put grape jelly, you could do what Matt was doing. But if you want to put like an actual grape, like a fruit, I wouldn't bake that in the oven. I would maybe make your cookie and then chop up some grapes and eat them at the same time.
Yeah, make a little platter.
Yeah, like some healthy food and a treat. And then if we have some batter left over, do we cover it and put it in the refrigerator?
Yeah, so what I would do is I would put it into a storage baggie. Probably will help a little bit more. If you want to put it in the freezer, it's going to last up a lot longer. If you want to keep it in your fridge, it's not going to last as long. Remember, there's raw egg inside of that. So I wouldn't, a lot of people say they love to eat cookie dough, but I can't really advise that because you can possibly get sick again. That is raw egg, so you don't want to eat the raw cookie dough. But yeah, fridge or the freezer if you're not going to use all of it.
You know what I usually do? I take the batter and I roll it into like a log, like a big oval, and then I put it in the freezer. And then when I want to bake cookies, say like in a week, I want to make cookies, then you just slice it exactly. And you don't have to roll it into balls. It'll be like little discs and they come out perfect.
That's how, and even if you want to do that method, it might be even a little easier to put jelly. If you choose to put jelly on, it might be even easier to do it that way because you already have a little plate of cookie already ready to go when you do it that way. So that's a really good idea. I like that.
Awesome. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the entire recipe again. Someone's saying if we forgot the vanilla, you can add it in now. Yes. This is the entire recipe, correct? I just put it down there again. I'm also going to put my email address in the chat box. So if you would like the recipe emailed to you, you can shoot me a quick email and I'll send it to you. Or if you're a parent out there and your child had fun today and you took some pictures, or if you want to take pictures tonight of everyone enjoying their delicious dessert, you could always send that over to me and we'll post it on our Instagram. This whole video will go up on our YouTube tomorrow, so you can watch it. And then tomorrow afternoon, we're doing Star Wars Creations with Skylar.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool. We're making little BB-8 crafts. All you need are paper plates, tape, scissors, and something to color with, so like crayons or markers. And then on Friday, we're doing a Reptacular Animals show. So there's no materials at all. We're just going to introduce you to some really awesome animals. Okay, I'm typing all the info. That was my whole spiel.
was trying to see. I think I drew a little Cookie Monster here. I want to see if we can do that all together too while these are.
Yeah.
And it's super simple, super, super easy because he's like 3 or 4 different shapes. So let's see if we can do that real quick. So if you do have a paper, pencil all around, you can just go ahead and sketch along with me if you'd like. Here, let me do this. That works. Okay. So I'm going to just do 2 little circles for his eyes. I always say draw light till you get it right, so you can always erase. All right, and then his eyes are kind of like goofy-eyed here. So one going in one direction, one going the other. And then I like to do his mouth because it's pretty easy. So.
Matt, can you pull the camera back a little bit because we can't see the whole thing? We can a little more.
Let's see.
Perfect. Look.
All right. So this is just his mouth here. And then for his face, it kind of just starts right here and then kind of goes around.
Oh, we can't really see it. Can you make it a little darker?
I need to get more drawing materials here. You see how his a picture of him right here. Oh, okay, so they kind of just goes on down from there. This is a very fast sketch also. So this is not a very perfect Cookie Monster, but
we
hey.
love it. We love the Cookie Monster. Here, I found a cute picture of him for you.
There it is.
Like.
Okay. Yeah. You bring his smile out a little bit. It's getting nice and toasty in my apartment here from this oven being on here. So let's see, we have.
Someone said they just already got their cookies out of the oven and they taste delicious. I love that.
Did they do the jelly or did they just do it old school?
I don't know. Regardless, happy camper.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Can you show us your Cookie Monster again?
Yes. It's okay. It's not the best Cookie Monster.
It's so cute.
It's a fast guy. If we were doing an art lesson on this guy, it would take a little bit more time on him.
You're a really good artist.
Thank you.
Okay.
Helps working at the art camp.
Yeah, it's the best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. So we're going to be able to hear everybody. And everyone can
party
say
starts.
Thank you and goodbye. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I just saw a kid who made the coolest Cookie Monster. Mia, hold that up again. Hold on. I'm going to unmute you. Say hi.
Hi. Hi.
It looks great.
Look at that. Perfect. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about.
That's so fun.
Better than mine.
Did anybody else draw a Cookie Monster? Let's see if anyone else wants to show theirs. Let me see. Oh yeah, tons. Hold them up, and if you switch to gallery view, you can see them all. They look so cute.
How do you do this gallery? Oh,
I
you
love
just swipe
it.
to the side? There we go.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, Milo, that one's really good. Let's see. Hold on, I'm gonna unmute you. Hi, Milo.
Hi.
Hi, look at your Cookie Monster. Wow.
Yeah, good show.
I like his silly eyes.
My mom did.
Professional.
Yeah, let's see. Who else has got one that they're holding now? There's so many kids. Oh my goodness, we have like 60 kids in here. These look great, you guys. Ooh, Haley finished her cookies. Let's unmute her. Hi, Haley.
Hi.
Hi. You want to hold up your cookies again? Those look delicious. Yum.
They smell good.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone, and you can all say thank you and goodbye to Matt, and we hope we'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, do not turn on your ovens without your parents. And here's my email address again if you have any questions. This was so super fun, Matt. You're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
The measurements make to make 60.
I want to leave the meeting. Okay?
Look how far you're making them. Now you want to get cookies.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Have to